Hi guys, I'm back. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about what, in my personal opinion, makes a book good. So what are the makings of a good book? And if you're a writer, congratulations, you've just stumbled across a video that is going to help you avoid writing a steaming pile of shit. So you're welcome. Keep in mind, this is all my personal opinion. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments below. In fact, feel free to be a complete arsehole. I mean, I'm against double standards. I'm an arsehole, you can be an arsehole, okay? So if you really disagree with me, feel free to scream at me in the comments below, but please be respectful towards others, alright? So what is it, Barbara, that makes a book good? Well, I'm gonna tell you, and again, all my opinion. Alright, let's get started. So I should say that most of this applies to fiction because I am not going to be looking for character development if I read a book about marketing and economics, alright? So this is mostly in the realm of fiction. So you don't need to tell me in the comments that you read a book about astrophysics and it was so good, but that the prose wasn't that amazing, but that the character development wasn't there and it was still one of the best books you've ever read. Okay, shut up, I know. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is pretty obvious, and it is a strong opening. I need to have a book that is going to grip my attention, and if a book starts off really dull and really boring, I'm just not gonna give a single fuck. And I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. A book doesn't even have to be that interesting in itself. I am someone who doesn't care that much about the plot itself or the theme itself, but I need to have something on the first few pages that is going to grip my attention, otherwise I'm not going to want to keep reading. So a good example of a book that does have a pretty good opening is Once Is Not Enough by Jacqueline Suzanne. I really liked this book. I wish I could talk about it more, but it's a little bit off topic. I might make a review for this. Basically, this is trash, okay? But it's well executed trash. The book starts off with the prologue. He burst upon the theatrical scene in 1945. He was Mike Wayne, a born winner. He had been known as the best crap shooter in the Air Force, and the $13,000 in cash strapped around his waist proved the legend to be fact. For me, at least, I wanted to know about this fucking Mike Wayne, okay? I was interested. This just got my attention, and I just kept reading and reading, and then the next thing I knew, I'd finished the book, alright? So a good, strong, interesting opening is always a good thing. Another example that I have is a book by one of my favorite authors, and it's The Possession of Mr. Cave by Matt Haig. This book starts off in a pretty weird way. So the first two lines of this book, of course, you know where it begins. It begins the way life begins, with the sound of screaming. That got my attention, and if it didn't get yours, maybe you just don't have the same taste, but I'm pretty sure it did. And I think that a strong opening, something interesting, something to captivate the reader is really, really important. Next, I'm going to be talking about the writing itself. I, for one, always look for a unique writing style. You guys have seen I tab a lot in my books, and most of the time it's not even for review. Sometimes I just tab the pages that I thought had really nice prose written in it. It has to be a little original as well, okay? I don't want any carbon copies. I think that a well-written novel that stands out, even if it's boring, can be so good. So good. For instance, I am currently reading The Beautiful and Damned by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and it is honestly, I'm about halfway through, and it is breathtakingly beautiful, and I'm also a little bit breathtaken because I just ran up the stairs to go get the book. But the prose is unlike anything I've seen before. We see all these tabs? Most of them are because of lines and just sentences that I thought were beautiful, and I think it's spectacular that anyone could do things like that with words. I'm doing a really shit job of explaining myself, but prose is so important to me, and even though it's not the sort of story that I usually reach for, I am just loving it because of the prose. So prose is always a really important thing for me. Another book that is very original when it comes to writing and style is Malloy by Samuel Beckett. This one has the entire trilogy, Malloy, Malone Dies, and The Unnameable. For me, Malloy was the most weird one, and weird in a good way. I will say it's not for everyone. It took me about 6 months to read the whole trilogy, and it's not that much. Malloy, for example, is just weird. Jack shit happens and yet you still read. And look at this, it's just entire blocks of writing. Like, it is very dense, it's very difficult. So the fact that he wrote in this way, like no paragraphing, basically no plot in Malloy, and I still kept reading and most people still keep reading, says a lot. Next thing I'm going to talk about is character development, and my god, I could make an entire video about this. To me, character development is almost more important than the plot itself, but that is very personal. I am just the sort of person who is going to reach for a character-driven story rather than a plot-driven story. Some people would choose the other way around, but for me, character development is essential. Realistic and flawed characters are a must for me. If you've seen my YA rant, you're gonna know that, and as much as I cringe when I watch it, that is one thing that I will always stand by. I do not want paper cutouts of characters. I want them to be real. I want them to feel like I could potentially meet them one day. I don't give a fuck if it's a wizard in Harry Potter. I want to be able to imagine that sort of personality in a real human being. Do you get what I mean? So, excellent books with good character development. Let me know if you want an entire recommendations video on that. Would be Crime and Punishment. The guy goes literally insane. His psychology is elaborated on endlessly, and I thought it was honestly fascinating. So, Crime and Punishment. The Great Gatsby had amazingly flawed characters. I used to hate The Great Gatsby, and then I reread it and I loved it, and this is part of the reason why. Lord of the Flies as well. Fantastic. The characters are so complex, they're not two-dimensional. And of course, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte has the most awful people you will ever read about are in Wuthering Heights, and they feel like people. They really do. They've got good, they've got bad, well, mostly bad, but oh my god, I could talk about the characters in Wuthering Heights forever. I'm gonna spare you, but you know. I feel like people in my advanced English class back in high school, they're probably cringing so hard because they all hated Wuthering Heights when we read it, and I loved it, but like, fuck you guys. So the next thing is a sense of originality in a book. This is one of the reasons why I'm really not that interested in YA anymore. I still read it sometimes, but it just feels so repetitive to me. It's always the same shit, so I always look for something original, otherwise it's not good. Like, I might as well reread the same book over and over again. And it doesn't have to be a different theme and different topic every time. That's not what I mean by originality. Take Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. I'm sure a lot of people have written about a road trip before, but I've never read anything like it before. It's spectacular. Honestly, I highly recommend it. If you guys want to see a review, I will gladly make one, but you guys only seem to want rant reviews, and I actually enjoyed this, so let me know if you still want to see it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I don't want a book to be like every other book I've ever read ever. That's just boring, because again, that's what I was saying. YA, once you've read one of them, you've read them all pretty much. Another book, well, more of a play this time, that I read for school actually and I really liked was Endgame by Samuel Beckett, because again, it was nothing like I'd ever read before. It was just so weird and it was not something I was used to seeing, and that is something that got me interested, and that's why I enjoyed it. Next mostly applies for, I don't know, like fantasy and sci-fi and most of those things. World building. World building is kind of related to character development for me. It is so important. I'd rather read a book with no plot and magnificent world building than a plot that goes too fast and then shit world building and you don't understand what the fuck is going on. For example, I'm one of those people who like maps at the beginning of fantasy novels. Oh fuck, I'm a sucker for maps. Anyway, so books that I find have really good world building would be Game of Thrones, for example. The whole Game of Thrones series, even though I haven't finished it. I am halfway through the books. Books. What is wrong with me? And actually a YA book that I actually liked had excellent world building and excellent characters, and that was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I also loved Outlander by Diana Gabaldon for that reason. I loved learning about Scotland, I loved learning about the world she was thrown in, and that was part of the appeal for me, you know. I didn't care about the plot that much. The things that I cared about in Outlander were characters and world. Are you seeing a trend here? And finally, my last point is gonna get kind of deep, for me at least. Maybe not deep for you, but like deep for an 18-year-old who spends her life on Instagram, kind of deep, alright? So it will be a book that will make me think. And this seems like a no-brainer, but I honestly believe that in today's day and age, we don't think that much anymore. We watch YouTube, we go to talk to people, communication has just become so easy, and we just watch people express their thoughts, and then we just kind of take them in, agree with them, and then we don't think too much about it in general. So yeah, that is something that I find really important. If I read a book and I'm still thinking about it several days later or even several months later, that is a really, really good book. And I think that books that, you know, really affect you on a psychological or intellectual level should be the main reason you read. Well, for me, it is and it's not. I also read for enjoyment. Like, for example, Once Is Not Enough. It's trash. I read it because it was fun. But then there are other books that really made me think, like Candide by Voltaire is obviously a philosophical novel, but I loved it. The Humans by Matt Haig, I have talked about it time and time again on my channel. Not only is it fun, but it also makes you evaluate the position of humankind on this planet. You really kind of understand how fucked up we all are. The Picture of Dorian Gray is also really good, and it, you know, kind of makes you think about the way we perceive identity. It makes you think about, you know, vanity and things like that, and I just thought it was really thought-provoking, which is so important. And another book that is French by Victor Hugo that was called Claude Gueux. You know, it made me really think of our justice system in general. Even though it was written a while ago, I could really relate it to today's justice system in general, and I just thought it was really interesting, and I was thinking about it for a while after I read it too, and actually I think I might want to reread it. So that was pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, tell me. If you hated it, tell me as well. Just leave your thoughts in the comments below. What, in your opinion, makes a book good? What makes it worth reading? If you disagree with me, feel free to let me know. I would love to have my ideas bashed in the comments. If you are interested in seeing more of my videos, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Chapter Barbara, both of them. You can even add me as a friend on Goodreads. You should add me as a friend on Goodreads, you know. Alright, well that was it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!